Flag is right back there. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make sure my phone is off. Yeah. Okay, under item 2 on the agenda is recognition of visitors. The board policy is that when multiple people want to speak on one subject, which it appears everybody here wants to speak on busing, we do is have you guys pick a spokesperson, and then that spokesperson can kind of represent, can talk, and hopefully hit everybody's key points, if you will. So we had, I'll just list the people that were on here. Is Kerry King, Paul Ganite, Bill and Kay Stump, Mr. and Mrs. Hutton, Mr. and Mrs. Duplaga, Waldine, is that right? Waldine, Mr. and Mrs. Hawley, and Paul Angel. So if you guys want to pick somebody who could be your representative and kind of talk, and then and we can start the discussion. Then one of the first things in the meeting is the superintendent's going to do a presentation on the background and how we've gotten to the situation we are, how the decision was made, and then at that point, I'm sure there'll be even some more discussion. So, so one of you guys want to start with?
My concern. I'm sorry. I'm Kerry King. We're new to the district,
Okay.
so I don't know everybody here, but I mean we have some very specific reasons why I had hoped to speak this evening. So I'm not sure, not knowing anyone, I'm sure everyone came with their own specific reasons on why they were hoping to make a statement. And so how is that best to elect one person to represent individual families?
Well, if you'd like to start, Mrs. King, that's fine.
Sure. Would you like me to talk about?
Busing, yeah.
Sure.
Why don't we see the presentation first?
Yeah,
Well,
good idea.
I was going to
Answer a lot of questions.
Okay, maybe we'll do it that way then. That's fine. Perfectly agreeable to. We need to roll call, please, Tom.
Okay, Pusateri,
Here.
Brock,
Here.
Fletcher,
Here.
Whittlesey,
Here.
Gump.
Here. Okay,
Good?
thank you. Yeah.
I was just gonna skip.
Well, thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak about this. I know it's a hot topic and it's something that's got everybody very emotional. So what I'd like to do, I guess my objective for this evening is to talk about what has led up to this point, talk about where we are now, and maybe talk about the next steps. Okay. I don't read a lot of Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, but I know there's been a lot of things said there. And I thought maybe a best way to start would just to show you the Ohio Revised Code. I'm hearing that people are saying, hey, we're breaking the law by not offering transportation for the high school kids and that type of thing. So I thought we would start with that. The Ohio Revised Code is this. I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but I highlighted a couple points in the second paragraph. In the city, local, and exempted village school districts where resident school pupils in grades kindergarten through 8 live more than 2 miles from the school for which the State Board of Education prescribes minimum standards pursuant, blah, 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 blah. Basically what that's saying is we must offer transportation for kids kindergarten through 8th grade. The paragraphs below that just clarifies things like we need to offer transportation for students going to a career technical school, which we're going to continue to do that. It also talks about students who, I believe somewhere it talked about students who are IEPs and who are special needs, who require transportation. We are offering that as well. The last paragraph is the point where it said the board may provide transportation for pupils grades 9 through 12 to and from the high school to which they are assigned. That part is where you may not if the circumstances allow that. So just to let you guys know, we are following the law. I wanted to clarify that with all of you. If we can go back very quickly, back to the beginning of, you're new here and you may not know some of these things, and if you do, I apologize for repeating the past here, but March 11th, way back when, March in 2011, the superintendent at the time, Dr. Andy Hill, sent a letter to parents of the district, and in that letter, he talked about how almost $1 million would be taken from the budget to enable the district to pay its bills, and that's, for a small district like we have here, $1 million, that's a lot of money anyway, but for a smaller district, that's pretty crippling. In the letter, an emergency levy of 4.76 mils would be on the ballot in the following May, and during this time, the deficit was cut down through cuts made throughout the school system. This was done to maintain teachers and program to be strong. In order for us to meet our needs, I mean, the one thing that we stand by, and many school districts do this, they try to, when cuts have to be made, cuts are made we're trying to keep the classroom intact, if that makes sense. We want to have the teachers being able to do their thing, to offer quality teaching, quality programming. We want the students to be able to have the opportunity to learn at a high level. So anytime we have budget cuts, we try to do it everywhere else other than within that classroom. What else? In the very bottom, the reductions were made that allowed the district to survive the 2011 and 12 school year. In that letter, he made mention, even with success of passing the levy, Waterloo schools would not be able to restore the services lost and reductions. And that's fairly typical when there are cuts in the budget that are of this magnitude, that are severe like this. It's hard to recover from that, and oftentimes when things are cut away, they don't return. If I can go on to the next page. And again, I'm not going to read this whole thing. This is just part of the letter that Dr. Hill had written and sent out to everyone, and I highlighted the points that I thought would be pertinent to our conversation this evening. While a $950,000 in reduction will get us through the 2011-12 school year, if we're successful in May with our levy request, we will not be able to restore the services lost and the reductions because the $950,000 savings are carried forward each year in our 5-year forecast. Again, when that money is cut back, it's very difficult for programming and things that have been cut away to return. To date, and he wrote in this letter, we have been able to reduce the $950,000 to $510,000 without touching our core. That core being the classroom, the teaching, the programming that we offer our students. That's the last thing that every district tries to maintain that. Whenever you have to, again, I want to say that whenever you have cuts, that goes on. Trying to preserve what's happening in the classroom. We have been able to do that here. Dr. Hill did make a lot of cuts at that time, and for those of you who are around here for teachers back in the day, I'm sure you remember those days very well. There were massive cuts, and I have a list of those things. That's, I believe, and you guys tell me if I'm mistaken, that's when the two bus route became a one bus route. We began to pay to participate. Full-time assistant treasurer to part-time, base pay and steps in pay were frozen, insurance rates increased, full-time transportation, a full-time transportation person, buildings and grounds and facilities person, those were full-time jobs, became part-time. High school dean of students, that job was cut away and gone. High school media specialist, or librarian, we can call them, that person was gone. Middle school social studies position, that was cut away and gone. High school audiovisual was gone. Newspaper supplemental, gone. Assistant coaches in football and basketball were gone. Middle school dean of students, that position was gone. and on the list goes. I actually, you know, there's more here, but I'll cut to the chase. Fact being is this is a significant time, and this is when all of this, now we're dealing with it today. When all those cuts went on, when the bus routes were cut from 2 to 1, that really got the ball rolling. We had to do that in order to again, keep our classrooms intact, to keep our teachers teaching, keep the proper programming that we needed to have for the benefit of our children. That had to happen. Dr. Hill did a very nice job, in my opinion. I wasn't here then, but going from $1 million, cutting that down to $500,000 without touching the programming. Another thing, I'm going to point this out, and certainly this isn't to point fingers, this is very common in a lot of school districts. This is particularly during the time of the recession when things were very difficult for a lot of people. The times were very tough all over this country. It would appear it was difficult here as well. I wasn't here during the time of the height of the recession. But just to give you you know, when you're looking at, hey, we're making all these cuts, we've got to go back to you guys. We've got to go back to our community and say, we need relief, we need money, we need help. And the community struggling as well, it just becomes this vicious cycle that you can't break out of. And that's what was happening right around 2010. I thought this was interesting. I pulled out, I didn't go through the whole levy history, and maybe you can see this. This plays a role in what's happening with our busing situation now. And I didn't go all the way back, but I thought it was interesting. We passed a bond issue in 2000. I think we passed an emergency levy of 1.33 mils in 04, and that's been it. Oh, and then we passed one at the top of the page here in 2013. Again, not to point fingers, not to say, hey, it's not my fault, it's not the board's fault, it's not your fault, it's just these are the circumstances. It was very difficult times, and this is kind of the echo from that, if that makes sense. It's kind of the ripple effect of that. But you can see when you have, in 2008, failed, 2010 failed, 2011, and when did Dr. Hillman write that letter? I can't remember. I think it was for 2011 for May.
Yeah.
That one failed. So when he was coming out and putting this letter, the letters out saying, hey folks, we got to pass this levy or we're going to have massive cuts. And again, I mean, that failed. So those things really began to escalate. And we tightened our belt. We tightened our belt and we still survived. Okay? But again, the ripple effect of that is where we are with busing. After Dr. Hill wrote that letter in, God, what date? It was 2011, right? And then 2011 again in November it failed. 2012 it failed. 2012 in November it failed. And then finally in February 2013 we passed. We passed that and it offered some relief. But the circumstances that I'm in, and I'm in with Mr. Carpenter here, when we're trying to make decisions on doing what's best, but again, trying to keep our classrooms intact, having the integrity going on there so our children can receive the best possible education. You know, there are things that we have to adjust. It's not like, you know, we didn't come up with this, and Robin Ferguson, our transportation supervisor, we've agonized over this. And I hope that none of you ever think that we came up with this willy-nilly and sent the letter out and attaboy, here we go. It's not that at all. This is something that's been going on, really, quite frankly, even before 2008. That's just, there was no way to stop it. When you have a business and you need to have revenue to maintain that business and you're not getting that, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but when you need to have that revenue to go on and you're not getting that, then things have to be cut away. Okay? And that's where we are right now. I'd hate to keep blabbering on about this.
Hey, Sean, before
Yes.
you go to the next slide, can I just
Okay.
interject one little thing?
Yep.
The way the levies work, for instance, it's 2010. If we pass this levy in 2010, 8 mils, we start collecting in 2011. If we fail in 2010, we put it back on 2011, but if it passes, we don't start collecting until the following year, 2012. So what happens with that is for this, if we pass 8 mils in 2010, or we fail 8 mils in 2010, and we go back on in 2011, what happens, to be able to do the same financially with that 1 year less, this 8 mil levy would actually become like a 10 and a half, 10 and a quarter to 10 and a half mils, which is obviously just out of reach. So what happens then is you have to make cuts because you didn't pass it here, and if the community didn't pass an 8 mil levy, they're certainly not going to pass a 10 and a quarter or 10 and a half mil levy. So you go back for something different to try to, you know, in between to try to, you have to do some cuts and bring in some additional revenue. Does that make, so that is kind of how come we failed in 2010. So the $950,000 worth of cuts were made, and then we went back on for 4.7576, and it keeps building. So that's an important thing to remember as levies progress and as time goes on.
And really on top of that, Brian, too, I mean, when we ask for levy, we ask for what we think is the bare minimum. We're not asking for what would help us really flow. We're asking for survival too on top of that. But on we go here. So the next part, transportation, that situation evolves. What I've written down here, as part of the $950,000 or $500,000 of reductions, the district was forced to go from one route instead of two, and I pointed that out. And it was a gradual thing, from what I understand. Again, I wasn't here for that, but we started out with 5 hours and offering insurance. Time goes on, you drop that down to 4 hours because, again, we're trying to make ends meet. We want to keep the classrooms intact. We want to keep everything going nice and going well in the classrooms, which we've been able to do that. And then we go from 4 hours, so you drop down to 3 hours, and then you take away insurance. And it's not unusual for our district to do that. This is a trend. Where I worked before, they're struggling getting bus drivers. It's a problem that's happening all over the state of Ohio. Problem, I don't know, maybe even the whole country. But you know, as that recession hit and money got very tight for school districts, and we had to keep cutting. These are the places where that happens. We went from 2 routes to 1 route. Waterloo reduced the following things, or for these following reasons: wear and tear on the buses. Having 1 route saved on that a great deal. Salaries, the fuel costs, and the health insurance costs. And I've seen the facts of this. We have been able to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's not. And again, I want to make sure that I'm clear on this. It's not as though we're taking that money saved and we're putting it in the bank. This is not money that we have and we're waiting for a rainy day, folks. This is money that you know, we're taking one spot to put it in another spot so we can survive, so we can keep going and we can offer quality educational possibilities for the students here. All right. So I want to make sure, yes, we were able to save and hang on, but it was indeed hanging on. It was moving on to pay other things so we can continue onward. And if you guys, I mean, if you want to jump in on this, I mean, feel free to do that. As a result of the reductions, the process has become more difficult, and this is where we are today. You know, I know you're not happy not having bus drivers. I know you're not happy with the elimination of losing the transportation from high school. I'm not happy about it either. I can't imagine anybody's happy with this. Our problem today, right now, actually it was a month ago, is that we have 21 routes and we have 12 drivers. If we take out high school, as by law, you know, we are allowed to do, we don't want to break the law, that still leaves us short a couple drivers, but something that Ms. Ferguson can take care of, and she's in the process of that, okay? And again, we're not going to give up on looking for drivers. We're going to keep fighting for this. If we find the drivers to drive the buses, then we're going to implement. This is not something we're doing to punish anybody or to say, hey, we're going to try to pass a levy and we're going to show our community what it's like. It's not that. These are circumstances that are beyond our control now, and we're going to keep fighting. I'm a very confident person, and I always see the best of everything. And working with Robin Ferguson, I know that she feels the same way. She's a very confident person, and she's going to keep fighting for our students, for our school district to be able to find drivers. It has not been easy. This is a lady that has gone through ulcer after ulcer, you know, trying to figure out a way to maintain our transportation. She's done a pretty good job of that, but we're at a point now where we had to make a decision. And it's
Why is
hard.
it hard to find drivers?
The hours are terrible.
The hours are
No
terrible.
insurance.
Yeah, it's 3 hours.
The insurance too, or?
There's no insurance.
No insurance. That, I mean, and that, again, that is something that we had to do to
Right.
make ends
I
meet.
understand, but
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What's the difference, what's the difference financially or however you're looking at it, to go back to the 2-route system?
Because then you'd have your 12 drivers twice. So you have the amount you need, why not just do that?
Plus they're getting more hours
And then we're not packing a bunch of teenagers in a car together, or they're walking down the road and getting hit and killed like a student got killed last year.
Well, we've looked into that, and we've talked about that, and again, it becomes an escalation of wear and tear on the buses. It becomes fuel costs and it explodes. It's not a minor thing. It's
But
very
it's the same
costly.
amount. It's the same amount.
No, it actually.
Driving the buses
You're
2
not using
times.
as many vehicles.
Actually, it's not. You would be going out. You'd be going out twice.
12 running twice.
It's the same.
Plus you have the extra buses.
Yeah, if you have a breakdown, you got more buses now.
The diesel's less today than it was 4 years ago,
Yeah.
considerably. I mean, I understand you talk about the integrity you're trying to maintain in the classroom, but that does us no good if we can't get our students to the classroom.
And you're putting our students in a dangerous situation.
And we're losing students.
And if I can figure out a way to get my kid to school, I'll take my kid to field. I'll go where they're gonna have a better opportunity.
I think that,
Let me go through this.
you go through
Go
it?
ahead.
Okay, no, go through it, go through it.
Well, let me go through this and then we'll get back. Okay. Our transportation today looks like this. We will be bus elementary students, middle school students, Maplewood students, we talked about that, special needs students, who would not be bused, high school students, biomed students, and someone a couple people asked questions of this, and this is a hard pill to swallow if you have children who are in middle school or elementary school getting on the bus and your high school student cannot get on that bus. That part of that is, if I'm talking to other parents and of children who just have high school children and no one below that, for me to say to them, yes, those guys can get on the bus, but your child can't. And what we're trying to do is be fair to everyone that's in the high school and try to keep that rule consistent. As hard as that is to understand, for those of you who have middle school children and high school children, that's where we're at with that.
Hey, Sean, I got a quick question with that.
Okay.
One of my questions. I know you guys don't use the all-call system, but how many high school students actually ride the bus? Juniors and seniors are driving, probably half your sophomores. There's only 1,200 kids in this school. So let's just say there's 400 in the high school. So you're talking 100 freshmen, maybe 50 to 75 sophomores. For example, I'm just saying.
Okay.
So you're only affecting 100, let's just say 150 people. My kids' bus had 6 high schoolers on it last year. And there was empty seats on the bus. And they're not packed.
As a
And
school
we're
district,
losing students.
let me interject real quick. As a school
Oh, yeah.
district, we can't go by you guys saying they're not gonna ride, they're gonna ride, because I had a senior last year that never rode the bus, but had to get on the bus occasionally. So the school still has to account for that kid that's in the district. They still have to stop at
But
that
if I
bus.
buy a parking pass for my kid to drive his car to school, I'm gonna let him drive one of my vehicles to school. I mean, yeah, there may be, I understand, there may be occasions.
And I understand what you're saying, but you can't predict the future. You don't know that, you could have 10 cars.
I can predict my kids going to a different school if this crap keeps up.
But I'm just saying, we have to, as a district, we have to count every kid that is in the district.
But I
Riding
want
or
to be
not
really
riding.
fair. I don't agree with busing kids either, but I do want to talk about my child's bus route. It was so full, we had 3 kids on a seat, and a third of the bus was high
Okay.
school. And that just happens to be our bus. So even though that probably isn't the case for all the buses, I know my kid's bus last year was. So I don't know how all the
Legally, they're allowed to
buses.
sit 3 in a seat.
But
So-
You
Vicki,
put 70 kids on a bus.
I want to address your scenario. If you've got somebody that just needs on the bus once in a while, SOL, you know?
But as a district, we can't say SOL because
Well, yeah, because
You're
he's
telling the
not
whole
getting
county or the whole
coverage.
district
I think, hold on,
The
I think,
whole district.
wait,
I am
ma'am,
going
excuse
to
me,
go. I'm
excuse
not
me,
like you.
excuse me, ma'am. there's no reason to raise your voice and yell at us.
There's no reason to sit here and
We're
tell
all
us
just,
that we can't
we're
say
all
SOL,
here,
but you're doing it to us.
we're all here for the very same reason.
I don't think so. I think these people are all here
I
for
think
the
that,
same reason.
I think it's important that we, yes, sir.
You say you gotta count on all of them. You can't account for all the kids that may or may not ride.
We can't.
I understand that, but percentage-wise, out of all those kids that primarily drive, percentage-wise, you know the odds are that any given day, you're only gonna get maybe a handful that will show up to ride that bus.
And
They're not all one day
I'm
gonna
not
jump
saying,
on the bus. It's
I
not gonna
disagree
happen.
with it, I understand, but as a district,
So
and
you
Robin
can-
can
you
speak on
can
it, we
count-
have
you
to
can
go
count.
by who,
You
the
can
kids in
count.
the district.
If you count on that and one day you got too many, one day, then you'll send the second bus out and get them couple kids.
And what if it
Not a
doesn't
big
become
deal.
more than one day?
It's
I
not,
mean,
you know it ain't gonna happen, come on, the odds are not gonna happen. 150 kids that drive every day, all 150 are gonna get on the bus tomorrow? It's not gonna happen.
I mean, it's
You know it
a
won't
perfect
I think-
scenario that way, but it doesn't,
It's
I
not
mean,
gonna happen.
I think we
Yeah,
have,
I'm just saying.
I think we have somebody here,
Come on.
I think we have somebody here that lives this every day and that can offer a lot of insight, our transportation supervisor, but I'm gonna ask, and I really do, please, I mean, she's here the same as you and I and everybody else, as we care about this. This is a very difficult situation. It's very, it's very troubling to everybody. So, I mean, please don't slay the messenger, okay? Are you comfortable talking, Robin? Okay. So, one gentleman asked, how many high school kids ride buses? You probably know that number. Pretty close.
I don't know right off the top of my head, no, but the riders who ride, and it also depends on sports. I've had to go out in a van and get students off the bus because we had too many kids on the bus. What's that?
They put it down in one route.
This was just in April, May.
And
You had more than 70 kids on that bus.
And how was my son's bus about empty?
somebody else asked a question about,
Poor route planning.
Yeah, my son's bus was nearly empty all the time, and he was one of the first on and off.
okay, somebody asked about the number of routes. And the numbers were looked at, if we had 3 routes, with 1 route, we needed 21 bus drivers. With 2 routes, we needed 17? Was it?
18 would be more comfortable.
18. And with reducing, not busing high school, we needed 14?
We're down to 16 routes, 12 buses and
Okay.
4 vans.
Okay. So there is a difference, right? So, and to be quite honest, we have to obviously we have to find drivers to be able to implement the program. I mean, we're 12, we have to find drivers to be able to completely implement the bus transportation system without the without
Then do
transporting
something
high
to get
school.
the drivers in.
Right.
Offer them something.
I think
Wait a minute. I got a question. I came in, I don't remember, oh, it was about the stadium, and before the stadium part of it came up, they were talking about, they talked to a company. So, I mean, there's your drivers, what
Well,
happened with that?
I'm sorry, Sean, this is part of his presentation. I think I'd like to let Sean figure, because that's in his presentation. Let's let him finish his
Just the last
presentation.
couple things here. Belton, we looked at having 2 and 3 routes. For the bell times for 2 routes, just very quickly, it would be 7:20, 2:40 for high school, middle school, 8:20, 3 o'clock for elementary. Bus is not returning until later time, obviously, because we go on a little bit later in the day. For 3 routes, the time becomes a little bit more drastic, with one of the buildings going from 9:10 to 3:30. Now, that, with a large coverage area in our community and lack of drivers, we would face even higher costs with 3 routes. Again, and I've talked about this before, gas costs increase, maintenance costs of the buses tend to go much higher. And what I have been told, what I understand is that we're talking about a significant amount of money. If it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, am I correct in saying that?
200,000, we get reimbursed partially from the state, but it would, depending on what you consider due more for the bus drivers, I mean, that number, it's gonna be 100,000 right off the bat. And whatever else you do is just gonna add to that.
And again, when you're looking at a situation where we've had to make major cuts over the last few years, that's a significant penalty, a significant cost to us. Also having 3 different times, 3 different start times, and loss substitution from building to building increases. And from what I understand, just talking with Robin, we'd still have a shortage of drivers. We'd still be looking for not as many, but we'd still be looking for more. Someone mentioned about what we've done to go out and get drivers. We have done all of these things. We've awarded attendance incentives for all bus drivers. We've gone into the Record Courier, the Alliance Review, Ohio Means Jobs from Portage County, employment ads have been placed periodic. And I know we've done this over the course of the year. I've only been here a year, so I can't speak on that beforehand. Facebook and Twitter have been utilized to recruit new bus drivers. We've contacted surrounding schools to discuss their process to find out, are we doing something wrong? Are we missing the boat? But what we've come to find out is that all schools are struggling. All schools are struggling for bus drivers. Many times last year we lacked a sufficient amount of drivers to cover routes. We were forced to use maintenance workers and mechanics who were people who, with their CDL, who could drive buses, would drive for us. There were times when we'd have to have a busload wait. We were so short drivers, we'd have to have a busload wait with their teachers or with Robin, and then once the initial bus ran its route, would come back and take that. There were times when she was really scrambling. There are other bus services out there. Peterman, the first student, we actually contacted them to see if we can utilize some of their drivers to drive our buses. They don't. There's what we learned is that they're struggling to find drivers. They were very keen on taking over our transportation system as they do, and we weren't ready for that. Both companies were willing to assist. However, they'd like to take over our transportation completely. If they were to take over transportation, we'd have more drivers lose work, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep working on.
Let them hire our drivers.
What's that?
If they're struggling to find drivers, let them take over transportation and hire our drivers.
It's not about the drivers.
There's still be an added cost.
How many buses are there? How many buses?
I mean,
Robin?
20 buses. And so this is where we are right now with this. Is that my last one? It is. But like I said, we will continue to look for drivers. If we do find an adequate number, we would implement the driving and make sure the high school students get away to school. Right now, we are stuck with this.
What about the students that
Yes.
are 2 miles away? And can't you at least, my kid's close, I'm not talking about my kid, but one of his friend's mom can't drive, she's a single mom, her son has no way. I mean, why can't you at least pick up the people 2 miles, the high school students 2 miles away?
They're too young to even get a driver's license.
Too young for a driver's license, walking down these roads, there's ditches, people don't pay attention, I'm sorry, we don't need another death. We just don't, this school's had more deaths than is necessary in a small school, it's ridiculous. And you're setting them up.
And why are we writing off this company to hire our bus drivers?
Because they don't want to fire our bus drivers.
Well, actually,
They're gonna
it's
cost,
much,
it's
It would be a
cost
higher
of
quality,
considerable amount of ways
cost.
to do
They're
this.
much more.
it's a much, yeah, it's a real,
So it's not, but you just told us, yeah,
It's a financial decision.
that's not what you just said. That's what they're saying now.
It's a
That's not what they
combination
said.
of both,
Yeah.
financial and.
And I don't wanna sound insensitive, but we're not here to raise bus drivers, we're here to raise our kids and educate them.
That's true.
And this school's
This is for the
lacking in a
kids,
lot.
and if a company like that coming in and taking over, give us a financial comparison, tell us what it would cost to
I
eliminate
will
our
look
bus drivers,
into that.
eliminate our garage,
I-
eliminate our overhead of fuel expenses, maintenance, let Peterman do it, let them come in and drive.
thought you
What
looked
would
at
that
Yeah,
cost?
We
contractors
did.
they hire.
we did look at contracting buses back years ago, and we had their projections. And what they do, here's what happens with contracted bus services. First of all, they come in and it looks good right off the bat because they buy your existing bus fleet. So we got 20 buses, some are in good shape, some aren't. So maybe the 20 buses are worth some sum of money. They give us that, and then they take over the bus fleet, and then they start running the routes the way they want to run the routes. And then the fees keep escalating. And then what happens is after they buy your buses, they've got you. Because Each bus costs $80,000 for one bus. So they know at that point, we can't get rid of them and go do something else because we sold them our bus fleet. Back years ago, when we looked at it, we had a projection of 5 to 10 years down. Was it 10 years, Todd, or 5?
Well, for example, so they came in and said, look, in 5 years from now, you'll be paying us $500,000. If you stay on your own, you'll be spending $650,000. The numbers aren't exact, but just to get the point across. Those 5 years came and went. I went back and looked. They told us we'd be spending $500,000 with them. In actuality, in actual numbers, we ended up spending in that year like $400,000.
So after 5 years, we were spending less
Than what they
than
told
what
us.
they would have been charging us,
Okay.
and we wouldn't have a fleet.
But
So
the kids get to school.
well,
What if you're charging us for the kids?
I mean, I understand what you're saying. The kids.
Spend less because we ate the cost. Why not revisit it?
You know, we can do all those things. We can do all those things if we pass a levy.
I mean,
No, when we started this was not about a levy. We're not doing this to punish you.
okay.
It's a combination of both.
Guys,
Right?
It turns back
It's a
around.
combination of both.
transportation lady have a moment to speak, please?
No, who said she wanted to? Her would find me.
She handles more than that.
I started here last February. Being a new, the company for a student, they had talked about getting us subs. Okay? They couldn't even send me subs. They would text me 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I don't have any drivers for you. They don't have drivers either. That was the problem. We could not even get drivers from them to come help me. And it went on till the end of the year, from February to the end of the year. They couldn't get us drivers to where they didn't send any at all. I would call them every day, text her every day, because that's the easiest way to communicate, and they could not send me drivers.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
Okay. I work in healthcare, and a hospital has an obligation to provide healthcare to the patients coming through the door, all right? When they have nurses quit, a mass exodus of healthcare professionals walk out the door, they can't tell the patients, sorry, we can't treat you, you're just gonna have to stay sick. So they pay more to bring people in the door, and they take the hit, they take that cost, so that they can take care of who they promised to take care of.
It's not
So-
up to me what we pay. I don't make decisions.
Why are we just saying, okay, this is what we're offering, we're not willing to negotiate that? Why are our bus drivers, why are all these bus drivers quitting and refusing to work for us? Is it that bad?
Because
Okay,
Hospitals charge extra money.
hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half in the afternoon.
So we can't find a way as a district to retain them somehow, to offer them some kind of incentive to
We
keep them?
did.
Try to
We did.
attendance bonus.
We did, we gave them over $50,000 in incentive bonuses.
To try to get more people here. Are there any part-time school employees that could be?
And I will say one thing, it's not just the schools. My wife works for PARTA, Portage Area Transit Authority. They can't get drivers either, and those are full-time benefited positions. And now you're looking at a position that's short hours, no benefits?
Well, that's,
So what is
They
gonna
expect-
keep these drivers from continuing to leave, and what is gonna keep us from next year saying?
Every
okay, now
school,
you gotta-
every
now you
school
gotta drive
district
right
around
away.
is asking that same, the same question.
okay, well,
Well, yeah, exactly.
I got a question. So what was the reason we can't do the 2? Because then that gives the bus drivers more hours.
We still don't have enough bus drivers to go back to 2 routes.
But if you only have to get, how many more do you need to get to the 2 route though? Because now more bus drivers might be interested if you do 2 routes, because you'll have more hours.
Good point. 2 hours.
We're offering them more than,
On August 30th, I don't have enough bus drivers.
Okay, that doesn't answer the
Even if we go
question.
2 routes, I still don't have enough drivers.
So how are you gonna bus our students that are younger? If you're telling us you don't even have enough to bus, what you're
My
promising you're
mechanics are
gonna
gonna
bus.
drive, the custodians are gonna drive.
You have your CDL?
No, I can't do my job from a bus. If I'm driving a bus and the bus gets in a wreck, I have to be there by law. I can't be there if I'm in a bus. Parents call me, I get 50 phone calls a day. My kid needs to go to the babysitter, I have to be in the garage to take those calls.
so does anybody know if these bus drivers that might have taken the job, might have taken it if you were offering more hours? They would have.
Well,
I'll tell you for a fact.
here's what we've been told is, or actually, here's what's all the districts around are struggling with bus drivers. You drive down Waterloo Road and go through Suffield Elementary School, and it says drivers wanted, bus drivers wanted. It says right now on the sign. I was there. I drove by it last night.
But they have limited times too, that's their problem.
So, well,
Rootstown has no problem, they got subs dying to get in full time.
why is that? Why is that?
Because they offer hours and healthcare,
Okay. Now, okay. So.
and hours, I mean, I wouldn't wanna work a split
I think that's something that's really important that we talk about a little bit. Is,
That's gonna go back to this isn't about a levy, but it really is.
well, no, it's not. You know, see, you're really, you're really pessimistic toward what we're
I'm not pessimistic, I've had my children in this district, and I had an unfortunate.
we're trying to do is trying to find a way around a solution to this issue. We've worked very hard to do that. The thing is we have a 5-year forecast in a budget, and that budget includes the dollars for one bus run. Okay?
5 years ago.
No, it's 5 years continuing. 5 years continuing. Our current forecast for the next 5 years that we are required to submit to the state, and auditors have to sign off on, and all those good things. That is based on in the budget one bus run like we had last year and the year before. I think since the middle of 2011. Okay. So I'm not done. So now, if we go to 2 runs, which we don't have enough drivers to do, what happens, if we go to 2 runs, that is approximately 180,000. Now it becomes a money situation.
How can you not have enough drivers for 2 runs and have enough drivers for K through 8?
1 run a K. We don't. Okay.
So what's gonna happen on?
Now bear with me.
So you don't have enough drivers for K through 8, so how are you gonna do that?
We don't have enough drivers, but let's just say we were going 2 runs, because somebody's talking about 2 runs.
Yeah.
Okay, if we went 2 runs, all of a sudden, that's after how much time?
At least 100,000 bucks.
It's at least probably close to $150,000 a year that we have to spend on busing, okay? So when you multiply that $150,000 a year times 5 years, that's $750,000 hit to the budget.
So it is about the fact that we can't pay the bus drivers.
That's what, yeah, because you guys are roundabouting this an awful lot.
No, right now, for one route, it's not a financial issue.
It's not an issue.
We have in the budget, one route, transporting everybody.
So you can pay 24 drivers to do 1 route, but
To
you
do
can't
one-
pay
to do one route.
14 to do 2.
No, we can't. When we went from, it's not the number, we went from 2 routes to 1 route, the district saved $198,000. So if we go back, we're gonna be spending.
Yeah, but you're running more buses.
That's.
And yet we're not allowed to ask
for money because. Saved $198,000.
Nobody understands.
Nope, not a clue.
Thank you.
Say that into the microphone. Not a clue.
If you bus them up until at least driving
Hold on a
age,
minute, she's
not cut
talking.
them at 9th grade?
Here's, if I could just have 2 minutes of everyone's time, I'm sorry. I don't know any of you except my kids think that I have 5 girls and 1 boy. They think that stunt boys are adorable. That's all I know about anyone here, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna be really candid, okay? We have 6 adopted special needs kids. They range in age from 3 to 18. We moved to Waterloo 2.5 years ago. I ran a grant program where I taught every school in Stark County except for 1 for 8 years. So I know schools. My husband and I sat down and added it up last night. We have large families. 27 of our family members work in schools primarily as administrators or teachers, okay, in 18 different districts. We got on the phone and started calling, okay? Not angry, I understand budgeting. I sit down every month and wonder where I'm gonna pay my bills. I get that. My concern is this. I have, in the high school, 2 daughters. I have 1 in middle school. I have 2 in elementary and 1 in preschool. My high school daughters are both special needs, 1 on the IEP, 1 not because it's all emotional behavioral. So my emotional behavioral, not an IEP, will not be bused. My other one's on an IEP because she also has learning delays. She's terrified to get on a bus even though she's allowed because everyone will know she's on an IEP and something is wrong with her. Because she'll be the only high schooler on the bus.
Oh, that's true.
So I have that issue. When we were looking for a home to purchase, we lived here 2.5 years. We found 3 homes in 3 different districts. And I'll tell you, I'm crazy about advocating for my kids because they have so many concerns. I was on the phone with every single secretary in the superintendent's office over and over asking every question. My kids are also biracial and African American. So I asked every question you can imagine. I brought my kids and I walked the hallways of every school we looked at. The reason we decided on Waterloo, I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't the best when it came to grades. But you know what? This school went out of their way to care about my kids and tell me that my kids were gonna be safe and cared for. That's why we chose Waterloo. Now here's my concern. I worked at one school before I went and taught at this grant. I worked at a school for 3 years. Budget was really tight. Do you know what we elected to do? I hate to say it, they'd kill me if they knew I was even saying this. We cleaned our own classrooms and we cleaned the bathroom on our own floor. Just because we knew that there would be huge major cuts to our kids. Things like this. My husband and I work in Canton. I can't bring my kids back and forth. I chose this school because I knew that my kids would be loved and cared about here. But I can't bring them here. Now I have lots of my friends who have kids my age, and they're like, Carrie, why did you move all the way to Waterloo? We have no family in the area. We don't really have friends yet. And I said, I boast about this school. Now what am I gonna say? Are they gonna move to Waterloo if their kids aren't gonna have busing? No. So then we're gonna have houses unsold, and then we're not gonna have the tax dollars. I know it's hard. I know it's a budget. Trust me, my husband and I agonize over our monthly budget every month. But if there's any other way, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm either gonna have a daughter walk about 5 miles, because I don't know anyone around that can take her, and my husband and I can't lose our jobs. And I'll have another daughter sitting on the bus crying because she knows that she's special. I'm sorry, it's a big issue. I know everyone's hot and they're angry over different things.
Yeah.
My son doesn't ride the bus, but I'm here because he has special needs too. But I get a phone call every year that says, can you call me if your child's gonna ride the bus? Because in the last 5 years, no bus has gone down our road. We're on the same route as this lady over here. They don't even drive down our road. If my kid needs to ride the bus, he stands out there and the bus never comes. So why can't you call the high school people and ask them who is taking us to ride the bus? I get the call every year.
Yeah, we could sign a waiver. I mean,
Yeah.
if your kid has a ride, sign a waiver that they're not gonna ride the bus.
Matthew has never been picked up, and the Waterloo bus has not gone down our road in 5 years.
Then you're not telling anybody yes, though.
I personally do not know how what the high school computation is for the riders. I'd have to defer to Robin on how we do that, Robin. Yeah, yes.
You would have to ask the parents. She ain't gonna know who rides the bus and who don't ride the bus.
But why can't they call?
I said, we're gonna have to ask her how she figures it into the bus runs. What number does she use?
Vicky said that she has to, you guys have to figure out every single student riding the bus.
Vicky, that's what she understands. I don't, Vicky and I,
have to receipt for every child in our district.
If
Then
we
why do
sign a
you- why do you
waiver,
call me and ask me if my kids are riding the bus every year? Matthew, there hasn't been a bus on our road for years. I get a call every year.
By law,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have to see
no,
for
I'll
every
go
kid in
down
the
that
district.
road.
I
You
get a
have
call
to
every year
provide
because
busing
the
for
older
9
siblings
through
have
12.
drove for the past, So I get a call that
She was on Bellamy Road. That's why,
There's
'cause
not
nobody
been a
goes
bus on Bellamy Road in 5 years. There hasn't.
no, there hasn't. They go right
Right
down.
by, I'm at the stop sign going to work every day, and there's a bus flying right down Everly Road, and never once.
There's a
My
couple
kid
kids
needed
on
to ride
building
one
too.
day, no bus ever came.
You just said by law, you have to have a seat on the bus for every kid in the district. But he showed us a document up there that said by law, you don't have to have it for 9 through 12.
So which is,
Which is it? You have to have seats for them
if we
because
transport K through 12. we have
Where's
to-
that law? I wanna see that in
Well,
writing.
that brings me back to my point. You're counting a seat for every kid in the district, you got X amount to drive. If the parents tell you, my kid's driving to school, okay, then you know they're not getting on that bus. Make the parent responsible. If my kid's driving to school and tomorrow he needs the bus, then today I need to call her and tell her, I need a bus pickup tomorrow.
Or
You're
they
gonna
gotta
get
figure
a
it out.
handful. You're gonna get, out of 150 kids, you may get 4 or 5 in a day.
or I can
Max.
figure it out, because
I'm
They're
nobody.
driving because they wanna drive to school
But wait,
first.
we have, if we're gonna transport, we have to transport.
It wasn't you, it was
What?
the start of the year, every year.
I don't know. I don't know.
And there's seats on the bus.
I don't think.
He just said it's
And I know
illegal.
you figure an overage too, I
You
guarantee.
wanna ask her?
Now, are you getting ready? I don't know how the waiver works. I mean, I don't know if it's, I mean,
It's something we can look into.
We can certainly look into it,
Yeah, no,
because,
everything can be looked into.
We can look
I
into
think
that.
should have looked into
and-
before the meeting. I really think everything should have been checked. But is it something we can look
Everything,
into?
everything that's popped into our mind, we've looked through. This one is not one that we thought of, I don't think, of calling every parent and having them sign a waiver. We can look into that, and we will look into that. If that's something that's gonna
Because-
work, then we'll see that it can. That's not an idea that we came up with, but we have looked through a lot of different things for a long time.
Doesn't the school get reimbursed from the state for the busing?
Yes.
Yes.
And Andy Hill also stated that the only thing in the school that makes money is the busing.
no, that was cafeteria. The cafeteria is the only thing.
So we get about 52% reimbursement from the state.
From the busing.
52% reimbursement, we don't make 52% profit.
No, but you get reimbursement.
Correct.
So you're not
Correct.
carrying the whole thing. The state's reimbursing you half, more than half.
That's correct.
Right, right.
Okay.
But the cafeteria is the only thing that really makes, that system actually operates in the black. I think that was what he would have said.
But the focus here should be, what are we gonna do about getting bus drivers?
Yeah.
Well, I have.
Does anybody know why we don't have to bus 9 through 12? The law in 1914 said you had to bus everybody 1 or 2 miles. In 1921, it was amended for exempted village, rural. You didn't have to do 9 through 12. 1921, totally different lifestyle, no problems riding your bikes and things to school. Today is 2016. Why are we still under this state requirement that you don't have to bus 9 through 12? Why is
Yeah.
that?
State representative position.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea?
I'm sorry?
You know how dark Porter Road is? Walk down.
Well, and I think.
Well, I grew up on Virginia, so the Porter was part of my run. Yeah, it's,
How dark is it?
yeah.
In 2 weeks, if we don't have buses, I can tell you, my student either gets dropped off here at 7:10 and doesn't get picked up till we can get home together. There is no other option. That is
Have
the
we looked into
only option.
opening a school early for parents that can't be late every single day?
We have.
We can't get bus drivers, we gonna get somebody to come in early?
We have talked about having, teachers, or adults within the supervisor role before school and after school, in case that doesn't happen.
Cause if you have a younger sibling who's in middle school, primary school,
the first day of school?
we're not gonna bring them to school.
Yes.
When I gotta bring my high schooler to school.
We will, and listen, like I said, we'll continue to work on this to see if there's a solution out there. The waiver thing might be the way to do that.
And we are going to, we will contact, I guess we probably contact the board attorney to see if legally we can do the waiver program. But as the law states, you have to allow a spot for every kid. So maybe we can check and see if we can check with our attorney and see if there's a way we can do it.
I know that
Hey, wait a minute, I just gotta say something. What is the difference between, did not bus the elementary and the high school together? What's the
Yeah.
difference today now? Are you gonna pick up the elementary and do the same route and pass up the high school kid to sit and stand and drive? What's the difference?
So you're gonna have lots of room on the buses, cause every younger sibling that has a high schooler, I'm not gonna put my daughter on the bus for her to ride the bus for 20 minutes.
I don't
And
understand
then sit
that.
on the
What's the
couch and
difference?
bring my son to school.
It's the same
What
route.
the difference is if we pick up all the kids, it would take 21 buses to do that and pick up all the kids. But if we don't pick up all the, if we just pick up the K through 8, we can do that with 15 or 16 bus runs.
You still gotta do the same routes, no matter if seniors are getting on the bus or not.
You pick up more students.
More students.
Longer routes. More students per bus.
You have 1,123 students divided by 70 on a bus, that's 16 buses. Why do we need 20?
Because you cannot get three high school kids cannot fit in a bus, I'm assuming.
We did. I sat 3 deep. for 10 years. So I got my license, we did 2 routes, everything seemed to be fine back then.
Did you do the split schedule? Like I think you probably went the same time as I did, the split schedule.
What's that?
The split schedule, the middle school and in like 11 and 12 and in the primary school we split the high school schedule.
Plus, you can't have
Maybe
students,
not.
you can't have students with their arms and legs out in the alleyway. The police will pull you over and
Follows us every day, looking for that. And we've been pulled over for that, because there's legs in the ice.
So the length of the routes is gonna be increased and the number of students getting on is gonna be spread out over the area. What's the increase in drive time? Because right now, we live at the outer edge of the district. My daughter, who
Gets
since
on at
kindergarten,
10
has been on the bus for 50 minutes in the morning. How much longer is she gonna be on in the morning now? if
We
we have the
release for
length of these
breakfast at
routes?
7:35, so she gets on at 7:10, we release for breakfast at 7:35.
Is she still gonna be getting on at 7:10 is what they're saying, or are we gonna have to pick up even earlier now, because now how is Baldwin working the same amount of time though?
So you're increasing the distance the buses. are
Imagine it'd be
picking up
a little
for
bit longer.
students.
I would imagine. That's I think. Yeah. I don't. Right.
With regards to dropping students off early, I would like to comment on that, because that's
Okay.
where I'll be.
I'll get okay. Please let's let this gentleman here and then you're next. Okay. Let's let this gentleman in the front row speak,
With regards
please.
to dropping students off early, that's my situation, that's what I'm gonna be forced to do. But I would just like to speak on that situation that I had to encounter last year when my son fractured his knee and he could not get on your busing. And my family was basically harassed, the staff here, about our students being dropped off early and picked up early. Meaning they could not be here because they were a liability. My son, who's an honor roll student who just sat there on a bench and waited for me to come get him, was not allowed to be at the school. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's my experience with dropping off early.
I was
And now-
asked the same thing. I was told the same thing, why I was dropping my daughter off so early.
And I'm sorry, I have a job. Without my job, I mean,
I can't pay my taxes if I don't have a job.
Well, I don't.
live in a hole somewhere, I guess.
I apologize. I don't know exactly what happened there, but if we set up a program, we're trying to look at setting up a program that we would have more than likely, and I have no idea, and there's no excuse. I honestly don't know. Maybe Sean does, but we
didn't
didn't.
have any staff.
But we didn't have
We
the
didn't have
staff
the
here
staff there
to watch them. That's probably the point. Now, with this program, we're going to have staff there, whether they go into the media center or they go into the gymnasium, wherever, so they can be looked
So is
after.
this program set up or is it still in the works? We're 2 weeks away from school, we gotta know what we're doing with our kids.
We're Sean.
I can tell you what I'm doing in 2 weeks, I'll be dropped off. That's my only choice. You guys have to decide what you're gonna do.
I've spoken with the high school principal a number of times. We're gonna have something in place. I mean, yeah,
It's
still,
not
we're
just
still
gonna be the
talking
high
about it, but
schoolers,
it is
because I
one.
can't drop off my high schooler and leave my elementary student at
Right.
home to wait on this
Right.
bus. I don't know when it's coming, so we're gonna have a lot more
It's gonna
here
be
than you
double.
think.
Good point.
Good point. We'll make sure we have that. We have it set up.
Okay, we can't.
Okay, I promise this gentleman in the front row,
Not necessarily.
he would be next. You're next. This gentleman right here.
My point that some people have to work at 7 o'clock. Now, if they have to bring the kid to school, they're gonna have to doors open at 6:30 so they can get in. If some people don't get off till 5 o'clock, then what are you gonna do?
I'll get a little earlier than 6:30, more like
If you can't pay
5:45.
the bus drivers anymore, how are you gonna pay someone to sit here with the kids? While
Thank you.
their parents drop them off and then pick them up at whatever time they get home.
Good point, Stephanie.
It's
We get reimbursed from the state.
it's not a matter of not being able to afford the 21 bus to do the one route. It's a matter.
Two routes, that's what we don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have 12 drivers, just pay the 12 drivers twice. You have the money for 21.
You're saving 9 drivers, but I don't have them.
But you have backed up buses.
What happens is if you go two routes, you've got to cover every inch of the community, school community, we'll say, with a bus twice. So the miles driven goes up twice. doubles.
No, because you
Yeah,
had double
no,
the buses
No,
before.
right now we drive, if we look at just the morning, we go out and we drive, how many miles do we drive to go across the district? Okay, so we go and we drive, then we're gonna come back and pick up the second run, we're gonna double, because we gotta go buy the same houses again. So all of a sudden you doubled, so you doubled your fuel cost, you doubled your wear and tear on the vehicles, on the cars, and the other thing that's with that is that means the buses are going to wear out more. So we're gonna have to have more costs to replace them, plus the increased cost of the bus driver's time. So when all is said and done, if we saved $198,000 by going from 2 bus runs to 1 bus run, logic tells me that it's going to cost us somewhere in that same range to go from 1 bus run to 2 runs.
Yeah, but you're having that run, gas-wise, the same, I mean, how many more buses are running 1 time rather than 2 times? Because
When you have
you're
two
still running it,
runs,
it doesn't exactly double because you have more people out on the route, so you still have the
And you
gas
don't have to cover
mileage.
the whole busing district, just cover the students that need busing. If the other ones sign a waiver, you're only running how many kids?
when you had 2 bus runs, 20 buses went out for the elementary run, 20 buses went out for the high school, middle school. So it begs the question, how are you gonna get to 8 through 8 with 12 buses?
It's not 12, it's 16, I believe.
But you don't
You only have 12 bus drivers.
Well, okay, we're gonna have to use the head mechanic, the custodians and people.
You have 7 additional people, so you actually have about 19 drivers.
Well, we don't want to, we're trying to, we would have 4, we'd have to use 4 additional people. So, I promised this one lady back there, I apologize. You had a question?
I just want to know, is the levy going to be on the ballot in November? Is that happening?
There is a levy on the ballot in November.
So if that does not pass, then where are we?
Okay, here is a
The
good.
same scenario that he just
That
said.
we just described. Okay, it's 5, I believe it's 5.9 mils, and so we'll be on in November. So that is to maintain our existing program. That's what that is. That's to maintain our existing program.
That's not to go from 1 route to 2 routes.
But
Now,
that doesn't start till the following year.
but we won't start collecting until 2017. If, assuming, let's say it passes, we start collecting 2017. If it doesn't pass, to be able to do the exact same thing, if we pass a levy in 2017, to be able to stretch as far and maintain all of our programs, that 5.9 goes to 8.25.
You're gonna threaten to cut more stuff.
I have not, it's not,
In May.
you know,
You will come back in May and say, if this don't pass in May, because it didn't pass in November, you're gonna start threatening to cut, either play-to-pay will go up to $300 again, or something else will get cut.
Because we got so many kids able to play right now.
We're rocking it. Okay, I'm with the new lady. Let's put our heads together. I'll clean the bathroom. I'll do whatever.
We're gonna have.
Aaron had a
She said
question
custodians are driving the buses.
or comment.
Just really quick, Todd had mentioned something earlier, and I hope I didn't misunderstand it. If I did, please correct me. Were you saying that if a levy were to pass, the district would be able to afford a 2 route?
No. If the levy passes, we'll still be able to maintain a one route run. Because if they go to 2 routes, it's gonna cost us an extra $100,000 plus a year.
Sure, and I understand that, and I guess I'm slightly disappointed by the lack of data that was presented this evening. It seems like we're talking a lot about approximations and, not hard facts. And
No, I have the numbers right here. I have the
empathize-
numbers all out here too.
Well, thank you to offer. I do empathize with the position that you all are in. It's a very difficult position, and it's also difficult on our end. I was just hoping to see, when Mr. Brandon says if we run 2 routes, it increases gasoline costs. Well, by how much, and what's the percentage? And I guess I'm
So if we pass the levies, this means, let's say the levy passes. Next year, when we get the money, Is that gonna guarantee our 9 to 12 gets back on the bus?
Only if we can find drivers.
If you can find us the amount of drivers that we need to drive them to school,
If
then
we can get the
yes.
drivers, yeah, if we get
Is
the
the school obligated to the whole insurance thing? Did the driver have to drive so many hours to give them insurance?
Yeah, there is a provision in the contract that they have to drive X number of hours. Currently, do any of our bus drivers get health insurance?
No, my dad's a driver, he don't get it, he
can't.
Do,
You guys don't have it.
and none of them get it?
There's a few that
There's,
still have that.
there's a few that still get in health insurance, and that are bus drivers only, right?
Correct.
That are a few bus drivers only.
All
that
the
do
bus
get,
drivers never have hospitalization, only half, when you have a 5-hour route, only half the drivers
right.
receive insurance. When you went to 2 runs, you couldn't get insurance anymore because you couldn't get the
25 hours, right.
There were grandfathered, most of those are gone.
Right.
When you had 4-hour routes, you weren't having so much problem keeping drivers. When you went to 1 route, that's when they started dropping off.
Right. And I'm one of those.
You're competing against other school districts around you.
And
And I agree with that, Ryan.
and everybody's struggling.
I argue with that, but we were forced to do that.
Now, the next thing is, if you don't have drivers, your high school kids are going, especially the sports minded, are going to other schools because they're gonna have to drive. They'll go drive to a different school.
You know, it's a.
And the mechanics extra money to drive these buses. So raise the amount of money you're paying bus drivers.
And you're gonna pay someone to sit here with the kids.
Well,
Because
if
parents
you
have
think
to-
about what we did last year, maybe a year and a half ago, we offered an incentive to try to attract drivers, and that didn't do it. That didn't do it. So, and the incentive was a pretty nice incentive to try to attract drivers, and that didn't help. It did help because I did talk to one bus driver over the summer that I ran into. He said he was going to retire last year, but he wanted to continue to work because of the incentive. So that was one of the things that does help. I guess it helped keep a driver, but it's not enough to track now. When we decided to go from 2 bus runs to 1 bus run, I'm going to sit here and tell you that I said, what's going to happen to this job? It's going to become a job that nobody wants because it's 3 hours a day, and so on and so forth. However, but at the time we were forced, as Mr. Bremen went through, that's what we had to do because of the financial situation we had to do. And once the board, it's one of the things that I think as a good board member and as a board member we try to do is if maybe you may not agree with the decision at the time, but once that decision's passed, you need to jump on board and do everything you can to try to make that decision work out and be successful, not like going out and trying to combat it or whatever. It's trying to work together and do our best we can to be strong and try to make things happen. But there was no doubt in my mind back when this happened that we were going to come to this period because who can afford to work 3 hours a day at $16 a day or $16 an hour for $182 a year? Who can? I mean, you're limited to the number of people that can do that. So it is a statewide problem because we know the other school districts struggle. One of the school districts that had some success, they're offering health insurance to their bus drivers. Okay, so let's just talk real quick basic numbers about if we offered health. Let's say we had 20 bus drivers. Each single family coverage health insurance is per month for
about $8,000 a year.
$8,000 a year.
Isn't there Obamacare?
Well, yeah, I don't even want to get into that. So let's say that we offered every bus driver single family coverage or single person coverage, $8,000 a year times 20. That's $160,000. Okay, $160,000. Now, where's that? Where are we going to have? Where's that money going to come from?
Where's Town getting their money from?
Right?
They have.
They passed levies.
I guess they passed the levy. I don't know.
They get bus, they got people fighting to get in all the time.
So you get into a financial situation. I mean, it's not the initial not busing K-9 in 1 run is not a financial, but some of the solutions become financial situations. I talked to 12 people at least, probably more than that, and I said to them, "Would you be willing to pay more money in taxes so that we could pay the bus drivers health care?" And they said, well, how many hours do they work? I said, somewhere between 3 and 5, maybe. And every person said, heck no.
Why don't we
And I
pay
would,
more taxes to
what
get
did
more
you think
hours?
our kids were gonna do when you made this decision? Did you think my freshman was gonna jump in a car with a 17-year-old, hitch a ride to school?
Well, yeah, that's the
No.
safe thing to
Do you think I'm gonna let her walk off on Auburn Road all
7
the way to high
miles?
school? No. Don't you know most parents work, both parents? Yes, yes. So I don't even know how this was even a possibility to make this decision. How that was on the table.
There was not, I mean, we're going to look into the waiver. I mean, and we need to find, I mean, I guess, how do you get drivers?
A week ago, a week.
Do you go on the board have kids that are gonna be walking? No?
No, I'm like you guys, I'm a parent right now that does not know what we're gonna do. I'm on the fence of what we're doing. I mean, if you guys can send me
Well, my thing is, how
I
can you
live
communicate with
almost
your parents to try and figure it out?
less than a mile from my daughter.
Earliest I can get home is
Right off 183.
How can you network? We're like out of limbo here. That's my thing. How do I network with my parents? Because I was raised.
Okay,
Middle
I
school
think,
children walk with high school children, or is it only high school kids are allowed to walk?
I can't, how is it that high school children can walk when there are no sidewalks? How can you make this decision without considering
There's
their
not even a
safety?
side of the road.
You don't even have a plan. I'm sorry, you don't even have a plan. You make this decision without having a plan of what you're gonna do. You're gonna open the doors at 2:30 and let the high school students out? You know, I have a 9th grader. We live on 183. He can't walk down Waterloo Road. There's no sidewalk. What do we do in the winter? How can you crosswalks without having a plan for their safety? I mean, safety is not something that one has to choose. Exactly. So what is the solution to this? Fine, we don't have bus drivers. They won't get buses. What is the solution? You make a solution to their safety, and you make this decision without coming up with a plan for their safety. There's absolutely, I mean, the only option is for my child to stay at school until 5 o'clock till a parent, one of us can get here and pick him up. Other than that, I mean, that is the only option.
There's always another option. You can just quit your job, and your husband quit your job, you won't be able to pay property taxes,
I
and
know.
they'll just
And
go away.
The thing is, we can't even sell our house and move. Who would move to this district?
Good point.
You know?
okay, the lady, yes.
With regards to what you said about the high school, letting you know if they're riding or not. I work at Southeast, I'm a bus driver there, and they do send out papers for juniors and seniors, and they let them know before, they do it the 1st of August, so you know, so you don't include them in the routing.
So it's legal.
Yes.
Oh my.
There you go.
There we go.
We're talking about the legal waiver.
They've done it
We're
for
talking
100, it
about
doesn't matter.
that, it's different.
Southeast is one up on us, so's Ridgetown. Keep going.
Okay, we're gonna,
If they still wanna ride, they can.
I'd like to say something, as a bus driver, I was wondering when you would get to this point. Because a bus driver is not an easy job. You may think it is, you take a lot of responsibility. You have to do in-service, you have to keep your driver's license up. I mean, there is a lot to it. It's not just sit in there and drive. It's not like it used to be 30 years ago. It's a lot more complicated for people, everything's a lot more complicated. Lawsuits, that's the first thing these people think about when they, I got kindergartners telling me, if you do this, I'll sue you. My parents will sue you. So, I mean, you only get an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the afternoon. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, because you cannot pay enough, but if you can bring your pay, at Southeast, they don't give everybody the same insurance that they used to. They did drop it back, and then they found they couldn't find drivers, so they negotiated it out where you get single coverage. And for the first 3 years, if you want your family, you have to pay for it. But after you get your continuing contract, the board pays for half, they pay for half, which helps on the cost of the insurance. And that does bring a lot of people, people don't want to do it without it.
But that's partly my question. Maybe this is more for Robin. I'm not sure, but do all the drivers for extracurricular events and athletics, are they the only drivers that we also have driving our daily route to and from school?
Yes, we have no substitutes.
But I mean, everyone who does like athletics and extracurriculars, they are just our 12, 16, 18, 24.
The coaches are driving the athletic bus. Munger drives the wrestling bus when they go to sometimes.
He also drives a regular bus.
Yeah, he's a janitor and he's a substitute bus driver.
So are they, my question is, are they really only getting 3 hours a day if you add in extracurriculars and sporting events?
They get more because that's on a rotating system.
So what is the average amount of hours that the average bus driver actually gets a week?
Oh my, you'd have to, including extracurriculars?
Including extracurriculars, it depends if they feel like taking trips that week.
So they have the choice to turn them down or to accept them as
Correct.
a
I have 3, sometimes 4 drivers that take extracurriculars, none of the other ones take.
Well, I guess
I know my dad takes every one he can get.
my question was if we bump that up, would that make it more accessible for insurance? Does that make sense? Like if they're also driving at extracurriculars and that was evened out more, does that give everyone more hours where the insurance is more doable then?
You don't make as much money on a field trip as you do driving.
Oh, there's a difference in pay and depending on what you're driving?
See, that's part of the, see, and she said that you got 4 drivers that drive extracurriculars out of the 12. So, so it's kind of like, well, okay, you got an opportunity to make extra money, but they don't take it. So I'm not sure. We're gonna wrap this up here in a couple minutes, guys. And we'll summarize.
It's a twofold question. Todd, how much per student does our school district get per pupil? Roughly.
Well, from the
$4,000
state
a year?
around,
A year.
from the state around 5,800.
Okay. Now I've heard multiple people that I know, and she kind of touched on it. I don't know if she's serious or what. She's got 5 kids. 6 kids. She pulls her 6 kids out of here and open enrolls them, takes them to Canton where she works. That's $30,000 a year plus.
Correct.
I know another family that's got 4 or 5 kids that are talking about leaving. I know other families that are talking about leaving because of this issue.
I got 3.
You're going to lose more money because you have to pay. If they lived in this school district and they open enroll their kids, this school has to pay that school they moved to. Correct? You're going to lose more money if people start pulling out of here and pulling their kids out. So insurance might not be a bad option. You lose her 5 kids and her 3 kids or 6 kids and whatever. You just paid for your insurance. So you better look at that because I've heard a lot of people talking and clamoring about walking out of this school district.
But the bottom line is, right now, we don't have an extra $100,000 a year.
But you're going to have to pay if they pull their kids. You're going to have to pay field
I
if
know,
they
so
take your kids.
let's just say we're gonna do this to keep your kids here. We don't have that $100,000 to do that. I understand we're gonna lose, but we don't have the $100,000 to do that.
Someone's gotta figure it out.
How you going to pay
The
that?
5.9 mil levy is gonna have to be a 7 mil levy to do that. And then again, hopefully.
I know you're in a tight situation, and I know there's a no-win situation. I come out here 4 years ago and pushed for your levy, and they were all sitting here, and I stood up and told you and told Janet Esposito the taxes I was paying where I came from. And I moved out here. I made a choice to move back out here. I graduated from this school. We got to do something. I'm going to vote for a levy because my kids go here. But I know multiple people, and I don't even know if I made the right decision, to be honest with you,
We have Mr.
to bring my kids back out here. I graduated from this school. My kids are going to this school. I've been in meetings with him. I was the only one that showed up to this roundtable meetings. The only one. I brought ideas to the table, and nothing went anywhere. I don't know, nothing against Sean. Him and I had long conversations over in his office. And I can come to his meetings more. I don't know what the answer is. It's no different than our budgets at home. But I'm saying we got to figure out a way, and if offering single insurance, like she's saying, is the plan, it can't be $8,000 for a single person insurance plan.
Oh, it's high. We paid over $50,000 in incentives to drivers, and that still didn't help. So what's to say we give them another $50,000 and it says we could still be in the exact same spot as we're in, and now we've spent another $50,000.
Maybe they're offering them back there 5 hours a day. Give them that extra $2. I mean, you're talking $26, they get paid, what, $13 an hour? $15 an hour, so you're giving them $30 a day to give them an extra 2 hours.
And
Maybe that'll bring more drivers.
And that's what we tried doing with the bonus incentive.
Oh, the incentives, yes. But
Over $50,000 in bonus incentives, if you give them back some of the time they lost when we went from $5 to $3.
But what was your cuts for giving them an incentive? Don't miss a day of work? Don't call off?
It was based on attendance.
It was based on attendance.
So don't get sick.
So don't get sick, your kids don't get
Because
sick.
we don't have the bus drivers.
There's
for
a
the
difference
transport.
between getting sick and calling off
It
than
was,
just not
it was
coming
every
in.
day you show up for work, you get an additional X number of dollars. Yes, sir.
Just quick to revamp, how many buses do we need to run the system the way you guys are proposing it right now? Yes. And how many drivers do we currently have?
Contracted bus drivers, 12. That's not
And you say you're gonna have custodians and mechanics drive the rest of the buses temporarily to fill in?
Until I get
So
some-
right now, it sounds to me like you're putting a Band-Aid on a heart attack. The suggestion that you're giving us to solve the problem, you can't even viably perform that. You don't have enough buses to provide what you're saying is the solution. So what happens when this levy doesn't pass, and what happens when you can't hire somebody to replace your mechanic or your custodian that's driving? Where are we gonna be at in 3 or 4 months when you can't provide busing for
They were
K through 8?
They were giving 6 or 7 were driving last year, were driving full-time last year.
I mean, I don't know what salaries are, but I'm guessing a mechanic makes more than a bus driver. And you're paying a mechanic to drive a bus, and you're paying a custodian to drive a bus. And you don't even have a feasible amount of drivers to provide what we need to do what your solution is.
K through 8, you can't even guarantee us we have transportation.
So you're giving us this solution to a problem, and you can't even provide the solution. I mean, it's. if
No,
you
she's
got
got,
drivers, 16
we
buses.
have drivers to handle the runs that are required for the K
Right,
through
but say
8.
a bus breaks down, your mechanic's on one, who's gonna go fix it?
I did that all last year.
That's
You
what,
went and fixed the bus?
No.
That's what I'm saying, but now the mechanic's on a bus. That's crazy.
so I think you're,
A
okay,
mechanic is driving a bus. That's what it is coming to.
it's important to understand, last year, every day, we had between 6 and 8 not people that were within the district, correct me if I'm wrong, between 6 and 8 people that were in the district that were not bus drivers, but had their CDL, were driving buses. So, I mean, so you're starting to, I mean, you see the problem, you see part of the problem, right? I mean, what you said is just what we've kind of been going through, trying to figure out how do we come up with a solution.
Are you accounting for the high school special needs kids in this? Because we all got a letter yesterday that said if our child's special needs, they are entitled to transportation. How many special needs kids are you counting on before you forward?
You guys get paid for special needs transportation.
We get the same rate, don't we?
Yeah, it's roughly the same.
It's roughly about the same as well.
Over here.
Okay, we're gonna,
It's related to the busing, but do we have enough parking spaces for all these kids that are gonna have to start driving? And are they all going to have to pay the fee for?
The after-school pickup for kids is already horrible, it's gonna get even worse. We're gonna be out the Waterloo Road and picking our kids
Sean.
up.
Sean says, yeah, we have enough room for parking spaces. One of the things we're gonna talk about here this evening is is the parking fee, if you will. We're gonna talk about that because in my mind, if we're not offering, and I hate to speak out of turn with the other board members here, I try to never do that because we haven't discussed it. But in my mind, if we're not busing those students, I can't really justify in my mind charging a parking
Okay,
permit.
my last question then. They've got one more requirement, you know what it is, are they going on that list?
I have no
Drive
idea.
to school, you are required to go on the drug test.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question, I'm sorry.
If they drive to school, then are they required to
Yes.
be drug tested? Yes.
Okay. So, I think it's,
My son does anyhow, I'm just asking because some of these parents not realize that their kids are gonna be pulled out of class to be drug tested because they're forced to drive to school.
okay, so,
Doesn't that cost you money to do that? You might as well drop
it's,
that.
it's, okay,
I can tell you, and I knew that drug testing would be brought brought up, I am a first responder here in Atwater.
They should be tested.
And I'm gonna tell you,
I think they
Well,
all.
then
without
test
giving
everybody.
names, you guys
Okay,
should
guys.
not be shocked that Portage County alone has a very big heroin problem. We have been on, in the last 2 weeks, more than 10 OD calls, and not all of them people made it. And you'll be shocked at some of the people that you've seen at these houses. It is our kids in these school districts.
Yeah, but
It is
I
our
think they all
families in
should
these
be
school
tested,
districts.
not just the kids.
Well-
that opens up.
We can't, I don't think, I think legally we're not allowed to do that, but just sticking with a summary of what we're looking at. Do you want to summarize, or you want me to summarize?
We need to know about what time is
Right.
open.
Can I ask
When
what
there's a waiver and what after care.
the time frame will be the same?
Because I don't understand how that'll be. The kids were on for almost an hour last year. So will it be less or more?
I would think it'd be more, but we'll have to ask Robin.
She said it's gonna be out now.
Robin, generally speaking, will the bus ride time be a little bit more? Okay, just the longest time a student should be on the bus is 42 minutes.
They were on the bus longer than that last year. An hour last year.
Well, you think about it, if you're making less stops, it doesn't take as much long time, right? I mean, I agree. Right? I mean,
No, you're filling the bus, so
Yeah.
you're not making less stops.
well,
You're gonna go a further distance and make the same amount of stops
well,
in order to make longer routes and pick up all the kids on less buses. You're gonna be low.
yeah, you're gonna make, I think you're right, you're gonna make less runs total, but each bus is gonna take
They're gonna
just as many
travel further
stops.
and still fill the bus.
Fill the
You're gonna be lost in stops.
Seems to me, that's I said logically.
I know you guys need to wrap this up, and people want to get
Is that always been that number?
When are we gonna know if we have a place to drop our kids off?
Okay, one second here, we're gonna let Sean summarize, then we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Here's the action
Very
items.
quickly, Guys, I know this is a difficult process to accept. We're gonna keep working on it, like I said, okay? What we're gonna do next, we'll start this tomorrow morning. First thing is look into the waiver process and see if it's even a possibility. All right? Now, as far as the drop-off times, the locations, we'll have that ready to go by Monday. Pick up times, drop-off times, where it'll be, where it'll happen. We'll have it laid out by next week.
Is that to include bus drivers?
And you guys need to think that
I believe
most
so.
people have to be at work by 7. And that means the drop-off time is between 6 and 7.
Well, I would say it's 5:45 for me. That's what time you'll be at the door. I'm not gonna be late for work. It's absolutely not gonna happen.
Let's see from the waiver. All right, let's see that.
Okay, so, just to hear what Sean said, say it, okay, one more time, guys, we're gonna hear, so everybody knows exactly what our path forward is here. Sean?
Yeah, one more time. We will work on this waiver situation. We'll work on that tomorrow morning first thing. It's one thing that we've never thought about, and we will investigate that completely, okay? As far as the pickup times and drop-off times, where that's gonna be, how it's gonna look, we'll get that established. Give me a few more days for that, but we'll have it ready to go next week.
Why work on the waiver if you're not gonna have the buses for the high school? I think we gotta work on the buses for the high school before we work on the waiver. It takes spending money to make money. I know I don't wanna vote for the levy if and when it comes up for a district that keeps taking things away.
Yeah, you guys have gone downhill for years.
Guys, the money you spend, you take 50% back on the busing, whatever you spend for
The
busing.
thing is, a lot of this that we're dealing with now is because of the loss of the levies in the past. And this is a good excuse that everybody wants to say, I'm not gonna vote for the levies. But you're getting what you pay for. I mean, quite frankly, if you go out there and you pay the bus drivers and you give them the benefits, the pie's only so big. So where are you cutting from?
Refresh my memory, we passed the last levy, what did we get?
Nothing.
You got exactly what you had.
Right.
And if you hadn't passed that levy, you wouldn't have got that. There would have been more cuts.
But I thought this wasn't a
And
blame
if-
game, and I thought it wasn't about the levy. 'Cause I
You
think
can
we
play,
should-
you can play the word games all you want to.
I'm not playing word
The
games.
bottom
That's what
line
you guys
is,
said.
this is a pie of money. If you don't have the money, you're gonna be suffering services.
Somebody got.
Everybody, the last levy They come to us and they said, give us the shortest amount of time with the least amount of levy, millage. So that was telling me you're satisfied with good enough. When is good enough not good enough?
People were trying to make do with what they got.
That's
We
not.
act like everybody has an unlimited pocket.
No, I don't, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that the least amount is going to give you consistent programming, that's it.
You flat out just blamed
As soon as busing becomes personal to you, then it's a big problem.
Everybody here votes against the levy.
Well, historically, it takes us 8 levies to get through.
And what's in this freaking room?
That's right.
What are you doing to advocate for the community to make it pass?
Nothing. Busing is not a financial problem.
It's not a financial problem
Okay.
right now, okay? We have money, we
All
have
right.
money.
I'm sorry you think it's funny, like you have all night. Sitting up there laughing.
Okay,
I'm
guys.
not laughing. I'm just saying that this is a no-win situation.
Okay, guys, I think we need to, I think,
And we've been through this, you and me, many times, and you know the situation we've been in, because you helped sit down and try to figure out a solution, and you realized the solution wasn't there either, Mr. Hawley.
Oh, now watch it.
okay, guys,
No.
let's, we gotta remember.
This has been going on for 5 years.
Okay, the idea is, I mean, I can't stress enough, this has been by far, I think, one of the most difficult time periods and situations we've been through. I mean, from a bus driving standpoint, as a board member, I kind of always said, I said it, how many times did I say it last time when we started talking about this? It's like, you never want to cut busing because of our situation, just like we've all talked about. Don't want to do it. Robin spends her full time, or not full time, 30 hours a week or whatever. She spends a lot of time working on busing and the bus routes and making the system the best she can. And that's what she does. That's her profession. That's what she does.
Right, that's what we all do.
And-
I spend 40 hours a week pouring coffee for people.
Hold on a second. So we counted on her with her expertise to come up with solutions and how things are looking. Now, she's done a very good job she's done a great job the last year or so of band-aiding together the 6 to 8 extra drivers she had to find somewhere by hook or by crook to get to transport the kids that we have done in the last year or so, right? I mean, she's done an excellent job from that standpoint. You got to give her credit. The point is we just don't think we cannot go on that way and continue. So we need solutions. We're trying to find solutions. I think that we've got some additional ideas tonight. We're going to look into the waiver form. We need to we got to have times where people can be dropped off, and times for them to be picked up and watched. Whether if we have to do that, if we have to go that way, but please don't think that this is something. Don't.
Why are the majority of the bus drivers quitting because there's not hours there? Or as my daughter stated, there's so many kids on that bus that the bad ones that, we're gonna give you a bus card, and, okay.
Well, part of
It's been a process. I mean, really, and I'm new here,
Thank you.
Guys, I think it's been a process, and what I talked about earlier, I think it's just been a vicious cycle of things happening, and this is where we are now, so I don't have the immediate answer or the right answer that's gonna satisfy you with that. I get that, but I think it's been a situation that's been going on for a long time, and now we are where we are, so what I'm asking you guys, give me a little bit more time, and let's see if I can find a way. We have been working on it, and the anger that you guys have right now is very apparent to us. It's the way we felt for a long time, trying to figure out a way around this. We knew it would be messy. We knew it would be bad. All right? I'm going to ask you guys for a little bit more time and see if we can find our way through this to get it to a satisfactory step, and then we'll move forward. But just give me a few more days.
Just please remember while you're working this out, a
Yes,
point
sir.
that was brought up earlier is we are going to be dropping our kids off. We don't have a choice. Most of us are dual income families who all work. A lot of us us have to be on the road by 7 a.m. to get to our jobs by 8 at the latest.
Okay.
So I can't leave my 11-year-old daughter home alone while I bus my high school son here. So now you're gonna be getting 2 kids dropped off, an 11-year-old and a sophomore. That's gonna be happening all throughout all these families. It's not just gonna be a few high school kids getting dropped off.
Okay.
There's gonna be a lot more kids than you realize, and you can't have 9, 10, 11-year-old kids sitting with high schoolers learning about vaginas and penises like they do on the bus. They're gonna have to be supervised.
Understood. Thank you.
You're not prepared to protect our children's safety. You have 2 weeks before school. There are no crosswalks. Have you hired anybody to let these kids walk across the street, stop the buses so they can approach the school? This is a huge safety issue. You are not protecting our children.
How do they walk across 224?
We're not in the city, we don't have street lights and sidewalks.
Yeah.
It'll be dark. Do the driver's thing.
Well, that's not what it says. You've said this for 5 years, and you dropped this into my lap just before school starts. One board meeting just before school starts.
That you guys weren't prepared for. I'm sorry, that was just, hey, this is what happened in the past, like we didn't already, somebody knew.
So, a lot of people are talking about people walking. I worry about the kids driving.
It's
You're gonna have
both.
brand new drivers.
Absolutely.
Terrible.
Picking up all their buddies,
Terrible.
grabbing them in that car.
Oh, no,
Distracted.
they can't do that. There's a new law that went into effect. You can only have one child under the age of 18. They can only have one person that is not related to them in the car at a time.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that
Well,
goes.
they can't all break the law too.
So, I mean, you're gonna have that, you're gonna have traffic problems.
It is
These are new drivers. I mean,
That's my biggest nightmare.
it's a horrible situation.
It really
One
is.
down
That's
from the
traditionally
district,
a
and
problem
you're
with
gonna have
country
road
schools in the first
transportation
place.
to deal with.
Is teenagers driving and get killed on the road. Country schools is where that happens. And now we're gonna have all of them driving to schools. Ones that maybe wouldn't have drove it, or don't need to be driving because they're not qualified or capable of it.
But the bottom line is, what do we gotta do to get drivers? We've tried everything in the world to get drivers. And if we do that, that's gonna throw off all of our forecasts, and you're gonna be cutting programming. So, you know, that we're here to educate kids, and that's our primary purpose.
But not people say.
I understand that, but you
You
gotta
know-
get them here safely to educate them. They gotta get here safely to educate them, and they can't be
Exactly.
pulling out of the school and leaving to other schools, or you're gonna lose major funding and you're not educating them either, somebody else is. So you
So, I
gotta look
mean,
at that big
we'll
picture.
have to look at,
See what you can cut. So I get our school kids.
but even at that, we're still dealing with competition, and there's no guarantees that we're gonna get those drivers.
I mean, we offered,
Just because we offer a higher wage and benefits is no
I think it was 30,000,
guarantee
3,000?
that we're gonna get those drivers to come over here.
Yeah, we offered $3,000 bonus, right? Was it 3,000? A $3,000 a year bonus to the drivers, which may not sound like a ton of money, but when you consider what the average driver's making, that's a pretty good percentage of their income.
Is that when they couldn't miss a day to be sick?
No, they got paid based on the number of days they were here. So we weren't gonna pay them a bonus if they weren't here. I mean, you know.
Well, I'll just be perfectly frank, that was the problem we had. We have a problem with bus drivers that tend to be sick a lot.
We didn't have, for a long time, we didn't have a bus driver.
I think, I
We
don't
have
know
a
about
high
that.
absentee rate for bus drivers.
We gotta- So,
What age group are most of the bus drivers?
I'm sorry?
What age group are most of the bus drivers?
Yeah.
Robin?
Most of them are over 40, I have a couple that are in their late 20s. A lot of them in retirement age, and I lose some to retirement in the next 2 years.
Bring
Yeah.
back the old ones, I'll tell you, they didn't have problems. If I get bus drivers.
all right. Okay, thank you very much. We do appreciate the input.
How will we be notified of what your decisions are?
I have no call with contact with the parent of the
Is your plan still to include 9 to 12 in the route? Is your plan to still bus these high schoolers, or have you just totally foregone that altogether? Is that still the primary focus here? Because that's what everybody's concerned about. And I'm not hearing you say, any of you say, our primary focus is to get these high schoolers on that bus. All I'm hearing is, just what everybody else is hearing, it's the money, it's the one route, it's no buses, no
Drivers,
bus
if
drivers.
we could get the drivers.
If we could get the
fine.
drivers.
Is the focus gonna be to get these high schoolers on that bus?
If we had the drivers, we would.
Is that priority one?
The focus has been that. It is my priority getting our students in this building.
Right. That's what everybody here wants to know, that they're gonna find out.
Okay, then I'm gonna say it. That is the number one priority.
And if that's 2 routes, it's 2 routes, you take a hit on the budget. You figure it out, you get it, you solidify that, you get drivers, you go back to 1 route. You gotta have a disaster recovery plan now.
I can assure you with the rest of the board members, our priority is to bus 9 through 12. I am just like you guys, like I said. I don't know, I am a parent right now that does not know how my son's getting to school. I don't know who's getting my 9-year-old after school. So if we can do what we can do to get 9 through 12, or K through 12, that's what we're gonna do.
This is probably our Mr. Brennan, I don't know. Within the next week or so, is there a way to like send out how you do that with first time one, send out like a networking meeting where parents can get together for those of us that live farther than 2 miles, or maybe we can network. I mean, I know my husband is going in late, and we do have room in our car for, let's say, 3 more children, that I could, you know, like have a net, you know, how we did like the electronics meetings where parents would come, like set up a set time, you know.
Maybe have a meeting, a carpool meeting here at the.
Something like that, yes.
I mean,
You know what, I can do it.
we have to come up with,
I mean,
Solution.
we have to try to find a solution.
A friend of mine wants to buy a bus, or not a bus, but a van. And he don't even go to this school, but he did graduate from this school. He just sent it to me today. He wants to go buy a van that holds like, I don't know, 15, 20 kids, like the ones we got. And for a minimal fee, they'll drive around and pick all of our kids up. Well, how many of them are we gonna need?
Well, you
apply for a position of bus driver.
I'm trying to be, I think I am a school professional, I love my job, and I cannot change it at this point in my life. But I have been in the school long enough, my children have went here since kindergarten, so I know a lot of cases, a lot of people know me who my children circulate. So I know several parents in this room who their children are freshmen. Like I'm saying, my husband doesn't go until 8, so he could get 3 more kids to school. That's how it's gonna get done. You have to, this is a band-aid for the situation, but you have to do it because again, I'm the same parent. So you gotta fix, this is what we can do as parents, because it is our job to keep our parents, you know, our children safe and keep our parents. So what can I do? I might go to network with somebody and be like, hey, I can get 3 to school, can you get 3 home? Or kids, it won't happen. And I think if the school would have to set up like a meeting, like I said, I don't necessarily know where everybody's situated, but I know I'm frozen enough away that I can just, I don't want my children home in 6 miles, whatever. Yeah. But it's not like you're just sitting with a stranger in the car. You can sit down looking for information. Yeah, I live on Porter Road. I live at this sector. You know.
I think that's an excellent idea, and that's something that you got that on your list? Yeah. So
I mean, you just have,
I mean, we,
if 15 people show up, then the 15 that are looking for a solution, you know.
additionally. But I do thank everybody for coming, and I apologize that, you know, obviously there's not a person in this room that wants to change our busing to only busing K-8. I can't guarantee many things in this world, but I can guarantee you that. So we're going to continue to work and try to come up with solutions, but you know, we're doing our best. We're doing our best.
I will be in touch very soon.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.